This is 5 on your side at 10. Focused on you.
We start tonight at 10 with the weather impact forecast. Punxsutawney Phil is forecasting another 6 weeks of winter on this Groundhog Day. However, here in St. Louis, we're getting an early taste of spring. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush. Temperatures here in the bi-state soared into the mid-60s today. Many people celebrating the nice weather on Groundhog Day with unlimited rides on the St. Louis Wheel. But they weren't celebrating Phil's prognostication. Weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank could poke some holes in that forecast because he's tracking near record heat for early February, right, Gary?
Feels pretty nice. And if you'll recall, last February we started off with around 80 degrees and we finished with 86. So we know it's all possible in this month. Well, it's possible because we were in the mid-60s today, and we've got near record warmth within the next day or so, of course. And you're talking about daily weather impacts. Weekly weather impacts are the fact that, of course, it's going to get cold again. It's going to return. Now, it's not spring yet. Keep that in mind for the rest of this month. Now, temperatures right now are starting to warm up, and you'll continue to see that even as we look outside right now. You can't see those clouds, but they're there, and they're thicker than they were earlier today. They'll be with us for most of the night. They're going to keep our temperatures from falling. They're at that 64-degree temperature today. You'll see those 70s to our southwest. That's what's headed here tomorrow. In fact, right now, it still has not fallen all that much. Now, Chesterfield, 38. It's in the valley. It's a little cooler there, but it's 51 in Farmington. It's even 48 in Litchfield. You only got to 55 today. So big differences there into the rest of the overnight hours. We're not going to drop all that much, but I think overall, the story for us is tomorrow it's even warmer. We'll talk about what the record is tomorrow, how warm we get, and why I think that cold air may return pretty quickly.
New information tonight on a deadly shooting at a Quick Trip in Midtown. 46-year-old Bessie Thomas now faces charges for shooting and killing a 36-year-old woman last night. According to court documents, Thomas and the victim were friends and got into an argument inside a car. That's when Thomas allegedly shot her in the head. Another friend was driving and stopped at the gas station at the corner of Choteau and Vandeventer. Police have not yet released the victim's name. Right now, police are investigating a deadly shooting in North City. This happened just before 2:30 this afternoon on Leduc Street near Kings Highway. Police say they found one man dead. We're working to get more information on this case, and we'll bring you updates on air, online, and on the 5+ streaming app when we learn more. Just hours ago, family and friends gathered at Bastille Bar in Soulard to honor a popular bartender found murdered in a Macoupin County home. 5 on your side's Annie Krall sat down with the grief-stricken parents of Chuck Perino Jr.
It was nearly impossible to walk into Bastille on Sunday and hear Chuck Perino Jr. described any other way.
He made everybody smile. He could lighten up the room for anybody, no matter where he went.
His parents knew him best.
He was just a good, kind person, very giving, very caring. He'd give his shirt off of his back to anybody that he could.
Understandably, it was hard for Chuck Sr. to not get choked up when asked how to describe the son who shared his name.
He was just a loving person. Always was. Very outgoing, loved everybody.
Customers who come to the Soulard bar tell me it didn't take a lifetime to love this outgoing and kind bartender, many driving hours to honor Chuck's memory and the friend they tragically lost.
We got the phone call that he had passed, and I looked at him and I said, we're canceling everything for next weekend. We're heading back to St. Louis.
Justin Taylor and David Barnes only met Chuck Jr. 6 months ago while visiting from Arkansas. They say Chuck had talked to them about getting a restraining order against his ex-boyfriend Gerald Stilts. The 57-year-old faces 2 counts of murder and several other charges.
You don't take that stuff lightly. When you have a friend that tells you, hey, I'm having problems with somebody, and I've had that real restraining order, you start looking out for them because you never know.
As the investigation continues, friends are hoping this celebration of Chuck Jr.'s life will help his family slowly heal.
His cousin walked in. She said, when I walked in, I could feel Chuck's spirit in this place. She said, it just give me a calm.
You'll never walk in Bastille again that you won't feel Chuck.
Annie Krall, 5 on your side.
Investigators have not confirmed that there was a restraining order. Stilts has pleaded not guilty and remains in the Macoupin County Jail tonight. Dozens gathered in South St. Louis today to remember a Collinsville woman murdered outside her home. Portia Rowland was killed last month while warming up her car. Today, members of her flag football league placed flowers and shared memories.
She was the friend that you confided in, because you knew she always was going to take care of you and always going to reassure you that everything was going to be okay. So that's why we're trying to put a smile on our face right now, but it's hard, it's difficult.
Right now, 3 men, including the husband of Roland's girlfriend, Sammy Schaefer, face charges in what investigators call a murder-for-hire plot. Schaefer plans to plead not guilty at his hearing on Wednesday. Members of the St. Louis Puerto Rican Society came together to help businesses on the island destroyed by a fire allegedly set by a St. Peter's woman. The group held a fundraiser to help cover the costs of repairs. Proceeds from a silent auction are going directly to business owners.
Making a living isn't easy at this point here on the mainland, and it's not there either. So just anything we can do to make sure that these people can get on their feet and they can get back to business is something that, I want to do. And if every dollar that we raise helps, that's what we're going to do.
Right now, Danielle Bertothy faces multiple charges. She's being extradited to Puerto Rico to continue her court case. A major hazard tonight in the Benton Park neighborhood. A building on the Lemp Brewery campus partially collapsed this weekend. It's part of the same building that collapsed in 2020. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski talked with a neighbor and the owner of the building about what happened. Laura?
Mike, neighbors tell me they're worried it could still be a safety hazard and are sad to see it happen. The owner says they were already in the process of demolishing this part of the building.
In 2020, Building 20 of a total of 29 buildings on the old Lemp Brewery campus partially collapsed, bringing down the entire west side of the building. A little more than 4 years later, the east side collapsed. The owner of the properties, Shashi Palamand, says it happened around 1:30 Saturday morning and is grateful no one was injured. In a phone call Sunday night, Palamand said, quote, "We were already under the process of demolition. We were removing the upper floors of that side of the building, and due to winter weather, we had to put it on hold. In January, the severe Arctic blast and precipitation got into layers of the brick, causing the section to give way." A neighbor who lives close by in the Benton Park area says she was worried this was going to happen for quite some time and saw similar signs of collapse like she did in 2020.
Because the same exact pattern evolved. The bottom bricks popped out, and then sure enough, it fell.
Palamand says he spent more than $1 million trying to shore up the building. It was once used for hop drying and had 2 very large kilns that were hollow, square-shaped silos with no real structural support inside. He says it was more of a shell. Sarah Ulrich does restoration and rehab work and says she's once again worried about safety. That's on her dog walking route.
Cars park there every day because there is there's a grower there across the street. People sit in their cars on break. When I walk by, I see them, and I'm wondering, wow, that's really dangerous.
Ulrich says she's really sad to see this happen again.
Because it's one of the oldest buildings there. You're losing history, you're losing heritage.
And wants to see more preservation efforts.
It could be a really amazing part of the city, and I don't know, it's sad to see it not happen.
The owner tells me they're going to continue demolition of the collapsed portion and are going to look into saving the center portion that has more structural integrity, but that's still unclear at this point.
Tonight, U.S. senators from the bi-state are responding to President Donald Trump's new tariffs. The president imposed a 25% tariff on goods coming from Mexico and Canada, as well as 10% on imports from China. Many economists say these tariffs will drive up prices at the grocery store, at the pump, and other goods. On NBC's Meet the Press this morning, Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri says he doesn't expect these tariffs to drive up prices. Instead, he believes they will help the economy. The Republican adds the tariffs send a strong message.
So the fact is, these countries are taking advantage of us. All along the while, we've got fentanyl streaming into our country. Yeah. So Mexico has a choice. They can choose to trade with the United States or continue to cozy up with the cartels. It's pretty simple.
Senator Tammy Duckworth, the Democrat from Illinois, posted on X today calling the tariffs, quote, a Trump tax, adding it's middle-class Americans who will pay the price. Businesses here in the bi-state are bracing up for a potential economic hit. 5 on your side spoke with the owner of Authorized Appliance in Maryland Heights, who says he's already seeing price increases from manufacturers. Justin Breckel adds customers are also making big purchases now rather than later. He says his biggest challenge right now is planning for the future.
How many installers do we hire? How much do we continue to invest in our business going forward? Or do we just try to wait and sit things out until things settle a little bit? There's a lot of unknowns. And I don't think that there will be a known, likely for weeks or months.
Leaders in Canada and Mexico responded by launching retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imports. Hours ago, the Kansas City Chiefs touched down in New Orleans. The Chiefs will take on the Philadelphia Eagles 1 week from tonight. While both teams got a calm reception to the city, the Lombardi Trophy arrived to the Big Easy in style with a full parade featuring dozens of musicians, kicking off a week of big game celebrations. A life-altering diagnosis gets a game-changing assist.
I am your donor.
No way. No way.
A sports writer's life-saving transplant from a familiar face.
After a warm day today and an expected warm day tomorrow, why are we looking to the north? Well, this cold air is bottling up again. Why this is more indicative of what we're going to feel the rest of February and how cold it gets the next 10 days.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
Tonight's Musial Awards broadcast right here on 5 on Your Side honored champions of character, and that includes a former employee of the St. Louis Blues. She now works for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And in tonight's Making a Difference story, I travel to Ohio to meet a woman who had a life-saving surprise for a sports writer. In Columbus, Ohio, where the NHL Blue Jackets make their home, he scores! Aaron Portzline has been the eyes and ears of Blue Jackets fans.
I kind of just had some speed.
As the team's beat writer for the past 23 years, he's witnessed every high and low of the franchise.
Dean, what do you know about Goodbranson?
But last year, this veteran journalist found himself at the center of a story he never wanted to write. Portzline announced on social media that he was in a battle with stage 5 kidney failure.
At least 100,000 people in America alone are waiting for an organ transplant, and roughly 90,000 of them, like me, need a kidney.
For 9 grueling months, dialysis became his lifeline. Friends and family kept stepping up to be tested, only to be ruled out as donors. Then out of the blue came news of a match.
And that was big news.
The woman interviewing Aaron Portzline works for the Blue Jackets. Lindy Knoll is the team's communications specialist. And while Aaron knew her, she was more professional acquaintance than friend at the time. Upon reading Aaron's post, Lindy decided to start the process to see if she might be a match.
I think that because I knew that it was a long process, just filling out the questionnaire was the least I could do.
But after 4 rounds of testing, Lindy found out she was Aaron's perfect match and made the decision to become a living donor. To Aaron, the identity of his match still remained a mystery.
It's a genetic disease. My mom had
That
it.
was until he and Lindy sat down to record an interview to raise awareness for organ donation. And a seemingly routine conversation took an unexpected turn.
I don't know who the match is.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's actually the real reason why you're here. I am your donor.
No way. No way. Wow. Oh my God. Lindy. Wow.
A man who had built a career on having the inside scoop was completely blindsided.
And then a million things are going through your head, right? You're now sitting right next to and looking at your donor, who you'd wondered now for more than a year who it's going to be.
Now, months after the successful transplant, Portzline can reflect on this extraordinary chain of events.
It's not too much to say that you've saved my life. You've also given me back the life that I want to live.
In the game of life, as in hockey, sometimes the most valuable players are the ones you least expect. Champions whose selfless acts change lives forever. Doctors tell us that living donors like Lindy produce the best outcomes for kidney transplant recipients. And a reminder, if you know an inspiring person or someone making a difference for others, let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com. As part of Black History Month, a museum in Kansas City unveiled a new exhibit honoring African-American trailblazers in flight and space exploration. The Black Wings exhibit at the Bruce R. Watkins Cultural Heritage Center is free for everyone. It includes multiple displays of black airmen throughout history, including a whole section devoted to the Tuskegee Airmen who fought in World War II. Black Wings will run until May 3rd. Meteorologist Gary Frank Reed joins us now with the weather impact forecast, and we might be closing in on a record high tomorrow, right, Gary?
Yeah, from the 1800s. I mean, this is a long record. We're pretty close to it. I don't think we're going to break it, but we're going to be closer than you would think. With right now, one of the reasons, obviously, it's 55 degrees at 10:18 at night, and it's February 2nd, right? So with a south breeze at 10 miles an hour, that's going to stay with us tonight. We got to 64 today. Look how far above average that is. When you look at our lows so far, that's pretty close to our normal high. That's when you know we're in those record territories typically when we sit and talk about that. And overall, I think what you're going to see over the next several hours is conditions that are pretty nice here. 64 degrees today in St. Louis. That was the 6th warmest day in history, with 70 degrees being the record in 2020. So not quite there yet. Larry sent this in from Wentzville. We saw a very nice sunset. So that was part of our 5 on your side weather watchers. So we had some of those clouds that settled in, and that's where I can show you where these clouds are right now. And I think they'll break up at times, but they're of the high, thin variety. Some of them thicker at times. That's what provided a very nice backdrop that a lot of sunset pictures are coming in. I know Anthony's going to share some of those in the morning as well. And you can see them on 5+ also. Temperatures, though, falling overnight in the low 40s, even mid 40s and around 50 in some cases because of those clouds and that south breeze. That warm air mass is with us. Watch this breeze tomorrow. It's out of the southwest and eventually turning to the northwest. So let's enjoy what it does when it's out of the southwest, because it's going to work us up into the upper 60s and low 70s tomorrow. More sunshine, especially by the afternoon. We are very warm tomorrow. Not a record. 18, 90, 75, 72 is my forecast, and I think that we'll get to that point, maybe 74. Depends on how quickly we warm up. But we did that in 2020, so that's what was a record today and tomorrow, so back-to-back records, right? The big picture shows 30s and 40s, and you can see the looming very cold air to the north, but we're not there yet. We're going to stay with this for now, and we'll see where the clouds are moving from west to east. No major disturbances, and I show you the map here in advanced tracking, and that's where the wind's moving, and that's where we're going to see most of our cloud cover and storms come from, but nothing too significant yet. In fact, this high pressure settling in keeps us warm for now, and I think it'll be that way for the next several days. But I do want to point out what will eventually win over when that wind comes out of the north tomorrow. It will be cooler on Tuesday, but watch where that warm air looms and brings rain chances up. We start off in the mid-30s, but then even thunderstorms are possible by Wednesday, and then another shot of cold air behind that. And that's what I'm looking at ahead. Also, I want to talk some advanced impacts here for the month of February. The 11th or 12th, there's a system in the region that bears watching, but as far as impacts at this point, still, I think it's way further out. And as I show you the next 7 days, you'll notice that we go from 72 to 47. We're in the 60s on Wednesday. And I think overall, we're in the mid-40s before it does get colder by next week. So let's enjoy Monday.
Time to go on the move. I'm Paul Cook, the traffic guy from Today in St. Louis. This is a big one. A part of Interstate 255 in Illinois will have all lanes closed for 6 months. I'm talking about I-255 in St. Clair County from Route 157 to Route 15. It's going to be shut down through July of this year in both directions. This is a 3.5-mile stretch of heavily used interstate that's just east of the Grizzlies baseball park. Why is IDOT doing this? It's part of the $65 million Rebuild Illinois project. They're going to be resurfacing, doing bridge repairs, and making safety improvements. IDOT tells us closing all lanes is the quickest and safest way to complete this project. Okay, so here's the best plan to get around this road construction if you're one of the thousands using I-255 in this spot. If you're to the west of 255 and looking to get in and out of St. Louis, take Route 3 instead of 255. And of course, you can take 157 to help avoid this part of the highway that's going to be shut down. I'll be digging for updates on this project and sharing them on Today in St. Louis each morning. Stay safe out there. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
2 air disasters, 1 mission. The latest findings tonight as officials search for answers. New developments tonight in those deadly plane crashes that happened within 48 hours of each other. In Philadelphia, we're getting a new look at the large crater caused by a medical jet crash in a busy neighborhood. Officials now say 22 people were injured in Friday night's crash. All 6 people on board the jet, including a pediatric patient, were killed. One person on the ground died. 5 of the injured are still in the hospital tonight. Philly's mayor is now calling on the community to help those impacted by the crash.
And we have to remember what defines Philadelphia. We are a strong people, a resilient people who clearly understand how and why it's so important that we take care of each other.
The NTSB is investigating the cause of that crash. In Washington, D.C., dive teams have recovered the remains of 55 victims from the mid-air collision between a passenger jet and an Army helicopter. Officials say they were able to positively identify the victims they found so far. Crews still searching for the remains of 12 other victims.
We're going to recover everyone. If we knew where they were, though, we would already have them out. So we have some work to do as the salvage operation goes on, and we will absolutely stay here and search until such point as we have everybody.
Tomorrow, crews will start using a crane to lift pieces of the wreckage out of the Potomac River. It's the music industry's biggest night, and tonight's Grammy Awards are on later than one Missouri nominee's bedtime. Right now, the Grammy Awards are still going on, and some St. Louis natives are up for awards this year. SZA took home her 5th Grammy for Best R&B Song. Other locals like Kirkwood High graduate Nikki Glazer lost in the Best Comedy Album category, and rapper Metro Boomin didn't win but was nominated for 5 awards. Over in Joplin, Missouri, a 10-year-old boy was also going for Grammy Gold. Tristan Wilder Hallett was nominated for Best Opera Recording for his role in The Shining Opera by the Kansas City Symphony. But his company lost the award to a San Francisco symphony. However, Tristan says he's just happy having his Legos and toys on display rather than a golden gramophone. And there you have it, 5 on your side at 10. We're always streaming on 5+.